plane back to Washington, D.C. actually said that there was no imminent threat to Iran, and in fact that he just wanted to make sure that they did over and over again for weeks now. It's also clear that the U.S. is going to continue to support Israel in its ability to defend itself with missiles that are coming from Iran, but right now there is no indication that U.S. personnel or U.S. military will actually be involved in the conflict. There's a lot of worry, though, that this could spiral out of control. That being said, the president, while he was at the G7, did sign a new trade deal with the United Kingdom. The president also said that he's leaving behind the Treasury Secretary to deal with other trade come out of the G7, and he said that he's been negotiating with about 175 countries and he hopes to roll out more trade deals. So it's an interesting development here, but also one where the president is now back in Washington, D.C. dealing with a number of issues. Back to you.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is expected at the summit today. Most of the G7 members say they are slapping new tariffs on Russia in hopes of getting it to the negotiating table. President Trump declined to join in on those sanctions, at least for now. The remaining leaders are also scheduled to meet with the NATO chief and India's prime minister. A federal judge has not made a ruling yet in President Trump's attempt to block international students from attending Harvard University. The Trump administration has accused Harvard of failing to provide sufficient information about foreign students. Earlier this month, a judge issued a restraining order against the president's proclamation that suspended international visas for new students. Harvard says the proclamation violated the First Amendment. They want the judge to issue a more lasting block. A decision is expected next week. In Minnesota, prosecutors announced federal charges tied to a political assassination and targeted attack on state lawmakers. Maggie Vespa is outside the federal courthouse in Elk River with the details revealed in those court documents.
Hey there, Vance Belter remains in custody at this Minneapolis area jail on a list of state and federal charges, including murder, which federal prosecutors stress could carry the death penalty. This after they, in a new 20-page affidavit and via yesterday's press conference, walked through what they called a chilling and very intricate alleged plan by the 57-year-old husband and father to ultimately stalk and kill 40-plus state and federal lawmakers. They had photos in that affidavit showing the equipment, the weapons, the silicone mask they say Belter had on him on Saturday morning at the time he carried out the beginning of his planned rampage, and said he didn't just go to 2 lawmakers' homes, he actually went to 4. They say first it was State Senator John Hoffman, where he opened fire on Hoffman and his wife, prosecutors say. Then he went to 2 other lawmakers' homes. Both plans, prosecutors say, were thwarted. One lawmaker wasn't home. The second one, they say a police officer showed up and effectively scared him off. The 4th home prosecutors say he went to was State Representative Melissa Hortman. Police showed up at the time that he was standing, prosecutors say, at Hortman's front door. That's when he opened fire on the former speaker and her husband, killing them both. Again, Belter remaining in custody after the largest manhunt in Minnesota history that lasted 2 days. And meanwhile, the children of Representative Hortman and her husband speaking out for the first time, releasing a statement. Sophie and Colin writing, quote, "We are devastated and heartbroken." They go on to thank law enforcement for their heroic attempts to rescue our mom and dad, adding, "Our parents lived their lives with immense dedication to their fellow humans," and they say this tragedy must become a moment for us to come together. Maggie Vespa, NBC News, Elk River, Minnesota.